Hello and welcome to Confronting Injustice. I am your host, Linda Solomon, joined by our co-host, James Watson, as we discuss the injustices of the criminal legal system. Our guest today is Heather Cook. Welcome.
Thank you.
Heather is the founder of Tent City Tent Association. Actually, you wear a number of hats, so we will look forward to hearing more about what you're doing. But thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And the introduction really should be that because the topic of this conversation is the Reparations Commission. And before we talk about that, why don't you give us a bit of information about you, your background?
Sure, absolutely. So I am a lifelong Bostonian by way of the South End. Mm-hmm. I am the founder of the Tent City Tenant Association. I am an activist, a community organizer. I am also a co-director and founding member of the Boston People's Reparations Commission, along with a senior advisor to the New Democracy Coalition, and I am also an advising consultant.
Wonderful. It's a lot. Clearly speaks to your passion and commitment.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with you. If you could give the audience sort of a background about the commission and how it came to be.
Sure.
If we could start with that.
Sure, absolutely. So the Boston People's Reparations Commission was really founded out of a need for there to be an accountability partner for the task force for the city of Boston, the Reparations Task Force. Mm-hmm. Now, if we go back to a couple of years, the city being the city council provided an apology to Boston for its role in the transatlantic slave trade. And then from there, we were able to get the city task force that was enacted by Mayor Wu. And so what we noticed as residents, constituents, and concerned activists and community members is that there really wasn't that accountability partnership between the city and the people. And so because there was that gap, we saw that there was a need for there to be the commission. And so with the commission, what we're doing is we're really mobilizing the community. The way that we're doing that is by meetings, having events. We're engaging the community, we're educating the community with the goal to empower the community. So you may or may not be familiar with the fact that we recently had a press conference with a public demand for $15 billion from the city of Boston for its role in the transatlantic slave trade. So that has been a hot topic of conversation.
Okay. So I know that reparations has been a question that is been on the table for a really long time, but I just want to be clear about what you're saying so our audience is clear. So the mayor made an apology. In that apology, she acknowledged the history. And in that apology, she acknowledged that wrong was done and continues to be done, actually. And so she formed a commission of...
Task force.
A task force.
Correct.
Okay. And the task force was not made up of people from Boston.
It's my understanding that there is one member who is actually from Boston.
And so the mayor selected all of the members?
I believe there was a process in which there was a group of people who were recommended to be on the task force. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what the process was for them to actually participate in the engagement, but I also know that there are two students as well who are on the task force. So that's...
Okay.
That's
and that's something probably a conversation for her, a question for her.
Yes, exactly.
But the committee or commission mm-hmm. that you were chairing works alongside. The objective was for your group to work alongside the mayor's appointed individuals.
Right. So the Boston People's Reparations Commission was created by the people for the people. Mm-hmm. And so we're very appreciative of the fact that the city has joined our meetings, is interested in what the community has to say and truly wants to partner. And that's what the conversation is right now.
Wonderful.
So right now we're working towards a partnership because we really want to hone in on that need for of us being an accountability partner, not just an oversight, because what we need, if we're really truly going to put together some type of reparations solution, there has to be the engagement with the community. And so if the city, what we've seen, doesn't have the capacity, or maybe they just don't know how to engage with our community because there are so many people who work within the city who aren't from the city, you have to build that bridge if you're going to have an impact.
Absolutely. Okay. Can you tell us some of the activities that the commission has been involved with?
So some of the activities that we've been involved with, obviously, is with the apology, getting the apology, really pushing for the city to put the task force together. In addition to, there has been involvement with Liz Miranda, one of our state senators, who's just recently put past 2 reparations bills that are in committee right now. And so in addition to that, we're building partnerships. We're really, when I say we're really mobilizing the community, it's really caught fire in the sense that, what we've noticed is there's this misconception of what reparations is. A lot of people come through the door and think reparations is just about 40 acres and a mule, and it's so much more than that. And there's something about having conversations on that grassroots level and creating the framework where the conversations are purposeful and you're able to really engage people in a way with the understanding that, you have people coming through the door who are dealing with trauma, because everything that's wrong within our Black and brown communities is a result or a symptom of what we think is directly related to racism, systemic racism, and what has happened in the transatlantic slave trade. So we are happy, well, we're not happy, but we appreciate that the city is now stepping into a space where they're open to having conversations and pushing for whatever that solution is going to be.
It's interesting. Okay, great.
Is there a lot of skepticism amongst the parties?
No, there are a lot of question marks. And I think because there has been such a scrubbing of history as it relates to racism and slavery, people are saying, wow, I didn't know that. So, when they come into our meetings, they're walking into a space, number one, that's safe. Number two, a space where they're becoming educated. And when you speak with a person instead of at a person and ask a person what they might need versus what they do need, you're going to get a different reaction. And so allowing people to really just kind of open up and share their stories and their experiences as it relates to racism has really been able to allow us to really put our framework pieces together, as it relates to our conversations that we have, like on a city and state level, with the people with the city and state. So that's just the concept right there.
Right. It's open dialogues, providing safe spaces for people to, sort of an invitation for people to hear.
Right. And not only to hear, but to heal. Because there is a healing piece to this.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're in no way saying that we're coming in and we're healing hundreds of years of oppression and slavery. No, but there has to be a starting point because, prior to the show, we were talking like the work that we put in is the work that our children won't have to. Right. And so if we understand the assignment, then we can get going. And even if these children who might not understand the context, it's important for them to be there because that's how historically our ancestors, shared stories before there was the internet, right?
That's right. It's interesting. It makes me think about the critical race theory. So you're talking about bringing people together so that they can learn with and from each other. And at the same time, because there are many people who are totally unfamiliar with the history of Black slavery and the history of Black people in America, and where people are, where African Americans are in the United States has everything to do with the history.
Right.
We cannot even understand where we are right now in time without knowing our history.
Right.
And so bringing people together is a wonderful idea. It's more than wonderful. It's practical. It makes sense. It only makes sense. Now we have the critical race theory idea that perhaps people should not be educated. And so what is your opinion about that? Because that just sort of throws a wrench in this whole idea of people coming together and learning from each other and hearing the, primary resource information, like real history versus what people make up in their heads or what they may have been educated with, which is probably not much. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a lot. So the question is critical race theory. How does that play into the work that you're doing?
So I'm glad you asked that question. Critical race theory, number one, if you're in grades K through 12, there's a strong chance, unless you have a parent who's exposed you to it, that you would even know what the definition is of critical race theory. It's our understanding that critical race theory is only available to people in certain graduate programs. And then, there are so many, again, different layers of why, and I think this goes into education, historical racism-based education. Why is it that the powers that be do not want us, or anybody, not just Black and brown people, but everybody straight across the board, to really understand the true history, the good, the bad, the ugly? And so the concern is that the people who have the power to make the decisions on what we can and cannot learn are fearful of the fact, or feel uncomfortable with them being perpetrated in a way that's at the very least neutral. And so if that's the case, then we have a bigger problem, which is whitewashing and then erasing, all of the efforts, even going to the abolitionists of history. And so critical race theory, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of anybody who's aware of what critical race theory is, a necessity, because how are you supposed to know where you're going if you don't know where you come from?
Right. And who selects what part of history should be left out? And so this probably warrants a whole conversation on this topic itself.
Right.
However, the public school system in the United States typically leaves out a plethora of information about Black history, slavery.
More than a majority.
And so to think that efforts are being made to cut out even more is just alarming. It's distressing. It's beyond my comprehension.
It's a disservice, and that miseducation it's a disgrace.
Why is the reason? Why do they even want to even do that? You know what I mean? That's what I understand. Why do they even want to just not teach it?
Because
Like
they control the narrative. And so that's the entire purpose of there being a commission, not just in Boston, but straight across the nation. People are standing up because, people are now becoming more informed. And I don't know if it's because, we've stepped away from the space of just being able to access information from libraries, and now we can access this information online. But, the more people who learn and become engaged, the more leaders we're going to build up, because we're talking about history. So the history dies when the conversations stop. The history dies when our elders pass on. And so if people aren't, in place and mobilized and kind of like reigniting the conversation, and not only just having a conversation, but really getting to like, what's the solution? What's the action piece? Because that's one of the spaces that, we want to make sure that we're in when we're having these conversations with city officials. We're not coming to the table to just have a conversation. We need a promise. We need a surety. We need action, especially for the role that the city has played, and especially since the fact that Boston has built its wealth off the back of free labor from the slaves.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. Because there is so much misinformation out there, we want to be sure that the audience is clear about what is the ask of the Reparations Commission.
What is the Reparations
What is the
Commission?
ask?
What are we asking for?
Right, specifically.
So we aren't asking. So the only people that we're asking is the community to continue to come together and have these conversations so that we can enlighten them and engage them. But the demand is from the city, and that demand is for $15 billion. And what we want to be clear about is we're not asking for a handout, we're asking for what's due. And so if people want to know, well, how do you quantify that? How did you get to $15 billion? Well, it's kind of an arbitrary number. So if you factor in all of the slaves, all of the free labor, and even if we went back to the space of how when reparations first was allocated, it was allocated to the enslavers.
Absolutely.
For their lost labor.
And they were paid.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they were absolutely paid.
Absolutely.
And so, I can further go into the breakdown. The $15 billion is an initial ask. It's not the ask. And so the first $5 billion would be for cash payments. But it's not even a caveat to the cash payments. What we've noticed is that I think with any group, if you give people who have been in marginalized environments a load of money, it's just going to be spent, right? So what we want to add onto it is a financial literacy piece, because what we want to do is truly build up our community. There's no reason why we can't have a Black Wall Street in Boston.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then another $5 billion would be for financial institutions, and then the other $5 billion would be allocated to resources within the community, but resources that are really and truly going to meet the people where their needs are.
It's interesting.
There's a lot of need.
Yes.
In fact, a sad statement is that in the city of Boston, the most deprived communities receive the least amount of money from the government for support. And so if anyone is thinking that there's no equity in this, where's the equity in the fact that the poorest communities get the least amount of money?
And there's another piece to that. So anybody who lives within what's been referred to as the murder triangle, they'll notice that there's no resources. The city is holding the pot, but why are there no resources being injected into the community for programming for children and for families and resources and training and safety and what have you, until a day comes when all of a sudden there's beautification within the community. Every community member knows, who lives in Boston, when your landscape or when your curb appeal changes, you know that that's a sign of gentrification that's being hidden under urban renewal. We know that there's a group of people who are going to have a lot more money that are going to be coming in, and there's a strong chance that we're going to be out.
Absolutely. It's not even a long chance.
No question.
I mean,
it is what it is.
We have to look at history.
Right.
There are
Right.
no shades of gray around that. We
No,
look
and
at
it goes
history.
back to redlining.
Absolutely.
And before that.
Now, we encourage people always to do your own research. You don't take anything that you hear us saying and run with it. Do your research. It's critically important. What also is critically important is that the idea that evil prevails when good people do nothing.
Right.
Right. Evil prevails when good people do nothing. If people recognize the history and the horrific nature of it, then you have to recognize that something should be done. You cannot undo what's been done.
Right.
However, there are things that you can do to uplift a community that's been downtrodden through systemic means. Right.
Right.
So you talked about breaking the $15 billion down. What has the response been so far? Have you received a response to that demand?
From the city? The city hasn't said anything, and we don't expect them to say anything.
Absolutely.
Where conversations are being had and meetings are being planned, this isn't a topic that we expect the city to jump on and say, oh, this is what we're doing, because we understand that the reparations task force with the city, they're tasked with the historical due diligence piece, and maybe even borderline kind of like, I hope that they're incorporating the critical race theory into what they're putting together as their findings. But for us, we're just we're just trying to make this happen.
Okay. So we have the people, community grassroots people, and then we have Mayor Wu and her group task force who are working on this. And I would imagine that it sounds like you are coming together to some extent. Initially, my understanding is that your committee was formed to work alongside.
Correct. We're grassroots. So we are the grassroots commission.
Leg or arm of.
Correct. As well as accountability partner for the city. Not only the city, but also the state. So we have a host of community organizers, leaders, activists, subject matter experts, and the community. So we are really focused on capturing what the needs are and adding them to what our demand and questions and concerns are. And so, we've noticed that there's this gap and no bridge and engagement between the city. Well, here we are.
Well, and that was my question. That was what I was trying to get to, because
Right.
there really should be more than just a bridge. You should be working together hand in hand
Right.
at the same table
Right.
at the same time.
Right, a unification, because if we're not collaborating and if we're not unified, and it's not just us putting a report together and submitting it for it to sit on somebody's table. This is about us having a seat at the table, because there are so many of us within the community who wanted to be part of this task force but weren't invited or didn't have the opportunity or didn't even understand the process to be
Right.
part of that group. So what we did was we created our own table. And so now what our intention and our plan is to have a seat now at the table where, our words and our feedback and our concerns and our demands are actually respected and heard, and there's action. And that's the biggest piece, is we need action, and we need it quick.
Right. And so I would imagine that Mayor Wu, the invitation for Mayor Wu would be to say, listen, we appreciate your effort, we acknowledge what you've done, and we appreciate you even acknowledging the systemic nature of this beast. But bring the community people, the grassroots people, to the very same table.
Right.
There should not be a division. There should not be any divisiveness if there is.
Right.
But that the people who are most impacted need to be sitting right at the table with everyone else.
Right, and then the other piece too is we've realized collectively that nobody's coming to save us, and we really have to be the change we want to see. And so that's why there's so much engagement within the community. And our meetings, each meeting that we have, it doubles in size each time. So like even right now, we're having conversations about moving to a larger space, because we want people to be able to be part of the conversation. Okay. And so it's great to have overflow, but we also want to be able to have the capacity to house these people. And so what we also want to make clear is the fact that we are in no way doing the work for the city. These city officials, and if I take a step back, like they are doing the work, but what good is the work if it's focused, if it's misdirected? So you need us, you need the community. If you truly are sorry and apologetic for the role that Boston had in the transatlantic slave trade, well then actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely. And the solution is very easy.
Correct.
Bring the players to the table.
Correct.
They should not be an afterthought, because then it's almost like they're replicating, although there's a good intention, they're replicating a system like you're doing for, no one needs to speak for the community, the community can speak for itself.
Right. The worst thing you can do is walk into somebody's home and say, this is what you're going to do.
Okay. Now, for people who, I'm always concerned about or interested in what people can do if they feel so compelled. And I know that the meetings that you host are open to the public.
Right.
Anyone could. You don't only have to be black or brown.
Correct.
If you feel compelled or have an interest, what might someone do?
So we welcome everyone to come and join the conversation. These conversations, these meetings are electric. Our next meeting is March 23rd. It's a Saturday. It's going to be at Deli Cafe. After that meeting, that public meeting, we will also be having a Reparations Day, and that's going to be on Saturday, May 18th. We're gonna have a hearing, a public hearing at the Bruce Bowling Building, followed by a solidarity walk, because this is gonna be during Malcolm X's birthday weekend. Then from there, we're gonna travel over to the Gordine Veteran Park, where we're gonna have a block party. There's gonna be entertainment, and this is all about bringing our community together, because once upon a time, before our elders became ancestors, this is what our people did. And I will also say that the one thing that I've noticed, and it gives me pride as a lifelong Bostonian, is there is a grit, a tenacity, and a resiliency amongst our people that, even though, like, don't count them out, because they're there. And we do, we have our, and I mentioned, the conductors. We had the conductors when it came to the Underground Railroad, and we have conductors on this journey of reparations. And we have the coaches, and we have the trauma teams, and we have the activists, and what have you. So we just went. Join us.
Thank you. Thank you to our guest, Heather Cook.
Thank you
for being here with us today. Thank you for watching Confronting Injustice. And reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.